Welcome to Cozy Coven Chats with Jenny C. Bell, where we explore the journey of the witch. Hey, witches. Welcome to another Cozy Coven Chats. I'm your host, Jenny C. Bell, and this is for the week of Halloween and Samhain, right? So we are looking at the week of October 25th. I always get really kind of giddy and excited as we get closer to Halloween. Our town does like a giant Halloween parade that everybody just attends, and I have had the joy of a couple of years trick-or-treating for crystals. There is a man in the town over where my kids would trick-or-treat with their friends who owns a rock gem place, and he just puts out crystals and everyone can take one or two. I have my favorite labradorite piece from him. Just a lovely, lovely man. And I wish I remember what house he had, because I wish I could just bring my book and be like, hey, just want to give this to you. Because I just think, gosh, what a generous, kind spirit. And may I just have a plethora of crystals to give out one day. We used to live in the place to go. We're in our old, in the Mojave Desert, we lived in this place, Spring Valley Lake. And it was an HOA, sidewalks and very planned out, and it was like the Halloween destination. I loved it. One year we had like 200 trick-or-treaters, and I loved getting creative. So like one year I gave out Play-Doh, another year I gave out glow bracelets plus candy, and I would do like completely decorated up. My sister attended beauty school, and when they would shave the heads of their mannequins, they often would just throw them away because there's nothing they can do with them. And so I collected them, and I had like these hidden stakes in a bush. And I painted the mannequin heads. I had like a bloody clown and a zombie and a mummy. But the thing that always got the teenagers were these little giggle buddies that one of my students' moms gave me. And they were just like these, like, look like little toddlers in costume. And they would, like, as you came close, like, giggle and move around. And teenagers would actually run away. Like, I had some not come to the door. So, love Halloween. Always have. Love a good Halloween movie. Been watching like all my favorites. It's The Great Pumpkin, Charlie Brown. Always watch that one every year. I've been enjoying Casper. Always watch Hocus Pocus 1 and 2. Watch Halloween Town. Yeah, like all the cutesy ones. I'm not talking scary ones. Like, I watch those too, but I'm talking about the comfort movies. Practical Magic. Already watched that one. Like, just love this time of year. And I think that as witches, it's like the one time of year we can really like let our witchy faces show, let our hair down, let our pointy hats come out, and people are like just thinking we're seasonal. So take advantage of that for sure. So yeah, this week, the energy, we are going into Samhain, which is officially, some people like go back and forth. So some people will say it's this Friday, which would be October 31st. Some people will say it is November 1st. I personally celebrate on November 1st, and I always have, because I like to celebrate Halloween and like do the fun Halloween stuff. And then I like to do Samhain as a spiritual day. So we're going to talk about how to blend those things today. But first, let's pull our card. We have Page of Wands. Interesting, because last week we had Three of Wands. I've been keeping notes. And so Three of Wands was like about standing in your power and, you know, climbing to the mountain, getting to the mountain. Page of Wands is more fresh energy, which I really actually kind of love for Samhain. So it's new ideas, it's new studies, it's taking classes, it's the optimism of youth, of all is possible. You know, the wands are associated with like career and passion and hobbies. And so I love it. I feel like it's inviting us to do something new. And as I shared, I will be celebrating Samhain partly by learning crochet in the morning. So yeah, it seems like perfect for that. But yeah, it's fresh start energy. And what's Samhain but the new year, right, for witches? So how perfect is that? And so, yeah, let's talk about how to celebrate Samhain. So I'm not reading from a book. I'm going to share just my own ideas this time. So first, I want to say that probably one of the easiest things to do is to blend Halloween and Samhain together, especially if you have children, because they're going to want to do all the Halloween things. And so you can make all of those things witchy. The jack-o'-lantern can become a spell, right? You put intention on the candles that you put in those jack-o'-lanterns, spell candles, and you can use the jack-o'-lantern. A lot of times it can be great for representing abundance. Depending on what you carve, you can carve runes in there, and sigils or sigils, however you prefer to say it. You can carve symbols of whatever magic you're doing. And so you can be there carving your jack-o'-lantern with your kids, but yours is a spell, which is really fun. Another tradition that I like is I bought a while ago, like on a Christmas clearance, the LED candles and the battery ones. And I like to leave those in the window all night on Samhain to welcome all the souls back. And so I usually do it on Halloween and November 1st all the way to November 2nd, because we also have like Day of the Dead. And so I just like to take those 3 days or 4 days, depending on how you want to do it, and have a light that guides the souls and the ancestors and the spirits. I really love that. So it's another thing that's super easy ritual to do involving kids around, right? If you are buying the cinnamon brooms that everyone's been buying, you can make that your besom by just adding some intention and decorating them. We decorate them every year. I have like a whole thing about how we decorate them in our coven, but you can make them a little more witchy with herbs and symbols and things. Another thing I talked about with Granddaughter Crow on her show was the silent supper, the silent feast. And this is a very old tradition. And basically, it is the tradition of making a food, a feast, and setting extra place settings and inviting loved ones who have passed, but you can also invite ascended masters. You can invite ancestors you don't know. You can invite deities. You invite whoever to your feast. And you invite them, you set the plate for them, and you feed their spirit. And traditionally, people are quiet because they're paying homage to the spirits, but also listening, because, you know, it's kind of like a meditative, mindful eating practice, and you're listening and letting yourself really become absorbed in feeling. And a lot of people will have the sensation of people with them. They'll get a sense of a grandmother or a loved one passed and just know that they're with them. And so it's a really lovely practice. And alternatively, it doesn't have to be silent. Like if you want to invite someone who passed away and you want to talk to that person, you can do that too. And it doesn't have to be a supper. It can be a snack if you want to do it alone and you don't want to, like, you eat dinner with your family or whatever. It can be a breakfast, whatever. And we're doing it in our coven as just kind of virtual. I put a place for people to share about loved ones who passed away that they'll be honoring this Samhain season. So that's another thing. Basically, Samhain is embracing death. And that sounds maybe scary for some, but if you're listening to this podcast, it probably isn't scary to you. Witches embrace death. We're liminal. We go through the veil. We embrace it all, right? We live by the seasons and the earth and the moon, and all of those things are cycles. And so we know that in every death is a life, and every destruction is a creation. And so at this time, Samhain, one of the most simple things you can do is, because it's a new year, on Halloween night, you could write some things you want to let go of for the year. And then on November 1st, you can write some things that you want to bring in for the year, like such a simple journal activity. So, it doesn't have to be, I think, I talked about this with Granddaughter Crow too, but people really overcomplicate things for themselves, and then their witchcraft practice becomes so big, it becomes too hard to maintain. And so part of, the point of this podcast is living a simple life. And so our rituals are not having to be showy. They are for you and you alone. So your ritual does not have to go on Instagram. It does not have to be worthy of Instagram. It is completely for you and your practice. And so if that means that it's journaling, it's a candle lighting, it's a meal, it doesn't have to be all the things. And, if you're on this path, I've been celebrating my first Samhain, I think I was 13. So this would be my 30th Samhain. And I've done different things, like from trying to talk to dead people to having no energy because I talked about being sick, which meant that I just lit a candle and was like, here we are, to, really just focusing on trick-or-treating and just going out to the moon and saying a little prayer. It doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be showy. Your practice is your own. And the simpler it is, the more likely you are to stay on the path. And the more likely you are to enjoy it and get things out of it and evolve and find meaning from it. When we do these big elaborate things that we think we have to do, it feels phony sometimes, like it can feel like, I don't feel like this is me. So I personally have a little Samhain candle I got from Sea Witch Botanicals that I will be using in just a simple ritual. Really simple, just going to keep it very simple. I love the idea of just releasing what doesn't serve me from this year and welcoming in fresh energy, especially now that I see we got the Page of Wands. It's like, okay, this is a good time to welcome in the fresh energy. With us as witches, we have lots of opportunities of New Year, right? So we have Samhain as a New Year. We have the actual Gregorian January 1st New Year, and then we have the astrological energetic New Year, which is the spring equinox. And I also celebrate Lunar New Year, even though we're not Asian. During the pandemic, I just was looking for things to do, and we started borrowing and trying out traditions and holidays. And so I got books from the library about Lunar New Year, and then we learned about making noodles for longevity, and so my kids are like, are we celebrating? They look forward to like the feast every Lunar New Year. So, it's just simple stuff. Simple. Keep it simple. Some journal questions to talk about. Gave a lot of good ones on the last episode. So if you didn't listen to that one, go back. I've read from a book that I really love, and I would love for you to go back and read that or listen to that. So what fears are rising? So you can definitely take Samhain time, this energy of this week, to take a real deep dive into shadow work. So what fears are rising, what shadows are rising, what anxieties are on loop in your head, what worries are you feeling, like really letting yourself feel what's rising. And then alternatively, you can also start to look at this week, because the veils are very thin. We're really looking at connecting with our ancestors. So you can also start going, I gave a little thing last time about creating an ancestor candle. So what ancestors are coming in? What would I like my ancestors to know? How do I honor my ancestors? And something I think about a lot of times is you doing the spiritual work and healing is honoring your bloodline. Like, it's that simple. What magic wants to be made? So that's another thing to think about. Samhain is very powerful magic. What do you want to do? Do you want to do like a spell that you've been holding on to, or ritual that you've been holding on to, waiting for the right time? This could be the right time. And then we also can think about, at this time, letting go and death and release. And so what are you mourning? Or who are you mourning? Right? I talked about the silent supper. You can honor people who have passed away, but you can also honor parts of yourself that have passed away at this time. Like crossing a threshold. I saw, we have the Maiden Mother Crone archetype, which I don't really jive with. But then there's also the Maiden Mother Wise Woman Crone archetypes that I definitely connect with. And so the Wise Woman is in her 40s, perimenopausal, like myself. She's not quite post-menopausal like the Crone or the Elder, but she's in between. So that's an archetype I definitely connect with. And so it's not like, I'm not mourning being fertile anymore, but I'm mourning being a young woman. Like, that part is behind me, and I've crossed this threshold into an older woman. And that's something we can talk about. That's something you can mourn. It's very hard to age in our society as a woman. We all know. And so that could be something that's been on your mind. It could be a job change that you don't love. It could be, this is the time of year to literally let yourself grieve. I think a lot of us just having to live our lives stuff some things down and don't deal with them. So Samhain is a great time to lay it all out, let it all out. And so this is another simple ritual. So I've given you, I think, a lot of options. Please don't do them all. It's the opposite of what we're doing on the show, right? But pick something that feels right for you. There's so many aspects. These holidays are multifaceted, and there's so many different directions you could go in depending on what kind of witch you are. Are you an herbal witch or a kitchen witch and whatever? And so it's really choose your own adventure, make it your own. I think that's the gift of this practice, of this craft. I do want to say that I have a deal going on in our coven. If you use the promo code SAMHAIN, SAMHAIN, you will get 20% off the annual and semi-annual membership. So it's the cheapest it's been all year because we really want people in there. And Samhain's such a great time to enter something new. It's a new beginning. It's a fresh start. And so I'd love to have more people join us and go into this new year with us. And we'll start to look at picking books for reading and, I always put out a survey at the end of the year, kind of getting input. And so if you've been thinking about joining us, 20% off with the code SAMHAIN. And you can find all about that at jennycbell.com. And feel free to ask me questions about it too. But our coven is a beautiful place. People in there are wonderful. I feel like the right people have entered, and it's a really good energy and it's a real good connection. So consider joining us. And on that note, I hope you have a wonderful Samhain and Halloween, Day of the Dead, whatever you celebrate. And I hope that there is new energy coming in for you. I hope this Page of Wands is really in all of our lives and we feel a little freshness in the fall. And it's funny because that's been coming up a lot in readings for myself, others, our coven, of just this kind of spring energy in this fall. So I don't know exactly what that's about, but I love it. And so may we all have a little fresh energy on this Samhain. Blessed be. As always, thank you for listening. Please subscribe and share with a friend. If you haven't already done so, be on the lookout for my book, Spirit Crystals. Discover your crystal guide for healing and empowerment. Available wherever you buy books.